we welcome on behalf of Takshila Business School the entire audience or respected expert panel members from leading industries of India. The session is especially designed for students, those who are in graduation as well as post-graduation, professionals and faculty members attending from different places. The objective of the session is that because the student today is in dilemma, that because of pandemic or because of COVID, what is going to happen after 1 year, 6 months or 2 years, whether there will be jobs or not, where the industry is moving, and what steps he should take to make his career growth. And this we decided to have a webinar for this in association with PNGI, Gurgaon. So this webinar is in association with Takshila Business School, which is a AICTE approved college at Jaipur, offers a PGTM program, and PNGI, Professional Network Group, based at Gurgaon. Various industry people are member of the association. So we are thankful to PNGI also that they have given us an opportunity to interact with you all expert panel members. The webinar is definitely going to highlight how, especially the automobile industry, has taken up steps during the COVID pandemic, during the lockdown period, as well as during this first unlock period, and later on also what new steps they will be taking to achieve their objectives and targets, whatever the organization has decided for various verticals. And we are really happy that we have leading industry members with us, with the departmental heads and with varied experience in different industries also. So I am sure the audience will gain their experience and wisdom. The agenda will be like this, that I'll be introducing first all the panelists to you all. If you have any questions and any doubts, or you want to raise a relevant question, there is a chat box. The audience can put their question in the chat box. At the end of the discussion, we'll like to take one by one some questions based on time limit. Even if we are not able to touch you presently, later on we will touch you. So for audience, this is fine. Now we'll be having 2 sessions. In the first session, we'll be discussing about the industry, from where our expert panel members belong to, a brief about their own industry, their growth part, whatever they want to say, the new products or expansion, what they are going to do during the COVID, how they managed, and what are their future steps for that. So with this, now I'll introduce our panel member, Shri Ratan Agarwal sir. Ratan Agarwal sir is presently heading HR and Research and Development at Hero MotoCorps Limited. Hero MotoCorps Limited is a very well-known name. I don't want to say anything about Hero Motors, Hero MotoCorp. But the only thing I like to highlight here that they have a world-class research and development center at Jaipur. They call it as Center for Innovation. Ratan sir is heading the center. In addition, he earlier worked with various plants and other places also in Hero MotoCorp, and having a strength of more than 700 talented engineers with him under his leadership. Ratan sir also worked as Vice President for Maruti Suzuki Limited, and he also has having an experience at Reliance Retail as Assistant Vice President, headed HR. For more than 1,500 employees he managed under his leadership. He and his entire team members were working more than 650 stores in different 14 states. So we are very fortunate to have you, sir, here with such a varied experience and industries. He also worked as VP HR in Trident Group. The second panel member, we have B.S. Dagar, sir. B.S. Dagar, sir, Ratan sir is also was also a former chairman of PNGI Gurgaon. Right? We have B.S. Dagar sir with us. He is presently vice president of PNGI, and he is presently heading Group Chief Employee Relation Officer at Escorts Limited, Faridabad. Now, Escorts is again a household name. Since 1944, the Escorts started, and nothing to say more about it. I think the audience knows Escorts very well. They are dealing in agri machines, they are dealing in construction equipment and railway equipment. The expertise of B.S. Dagar sir is employee relations specialist with demonstrated history of working in automotive industry, footwear industry, and retail groups also. He is skilled in maintaining good HR, operational practices, best industry relations, negotiations, employee recognitions, family connect programs, redressal systems. He was pioneer to derive various HR policies and its implementation. He also has his credit 100% utilization of manpower skills and will on shop. Now there is a big CV, but I think the audience can connect with their LinkedIn and see the profile. He completed his LLB and then MBA HR. Then we have our panel member, expert panel member as Sri Arun Raghav sir. Arun Raghav sir is heading employee relations, administration and CSR at Mahindra and Mahindra Swaraj Tractors Limited. He is also president of Punjab and Himachal Pradesh states for PNGI. He is heading, in fact, 5 plants of Mahindra and Mahindra and their research and development operations. Prior to this, Mr. Arun was also working as Assistant Vice President HR for Schneider's Electric. He also worked 9 years for ITC and 5 years for Nestle, 12 years in renowned FMCG organizations, very well known to the audience, at different locations in India. So we, on behalf of Takshila Business School, we welcome you all, sir, that we are fortunate to have you here for the guidance of students, faculties, and various professionals. So with this, I will first invite Ratan sir, so that he can brief about a little bit about Hero MotoCorp, their new plans, growth opportunities, the Jaipur Center also, because we are in Jaipur, so we have definitely attachment with the Jaipur location. So with this, I'll hand it over to Ratan sir to brief about how things are managed at Hero MotoCorp, and in future how you are going to have growth prospects to achieve the organization objectives. Ratan sir.
Thank you very much, Akhilesh, and really I'm honored to be the co-panelist of such an esteemed faculties, and also very happy to be part of the session with Takshila. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And yes, in terms of Hero MotoCorp, many of you, I'm talking to students, many of you may not have been born in the year 1980s when landscape of Indian automobile industry has changed. Some of you may be knowing that automobile history in the world has started in around 1880s with the first tricycle car, which was built by an engineer in Germany, which was named as Benz. And thereafter, the first car was produced for mass production in 1908 by Henry Ford with Ford Motor Company in America. But from there onwards, the journey in Indian automobile industry after the independence has taken a real step change between 1980 and 1990. That was the decade which was a defining decade for Indian automobile industry. Suddenly in 1984-85, a small car, a very tiny car with fancy colors, caught the imagination of Indian consumer, and which was known as Maruti Suzuki. Now Maruti car came on roads, and suddenly it caught the eye of aspiring Indian middle class, and everybody was quite taken aback with the kind of concept of the car has changed in their minds. People had never thought of such a small car can drive so fast, can drive so easy, if can have such a quality, and can have such a convenience apart from the aspirational and status value also. First time they have seen the car ACs in the car with modern technology, and during that time only, the Indian companies also saw launch of new company called as Hero Honda, and the first product of two-wheelers, similar to what Maruti was in four-wheeler. Again, the two-wheeler was in the space of two-wheeler. Again, Hero Honda launched a vehicle. So again, a company which was manufacturing cycles, basically in Ludhiana, suddenly came into automotive space with two-wheelers on the market. And our erstwhile chairman, late Shri Brij Mohan Munjal ji, he created a company in Ludhiana and Punjab after coming from Pakistan. And the company very soon, it has risen to the, in 70s and 80s, it has become the leading manufacturer of bicycles in the world. And it became number one between 1970s and 80s. When Japanese were looking for a joint venture partner in India, they somehow came in contact with our erstwhile chairman, and they visited his plant, and they were so impressed by the system and processes. They said, this is one of the best, this is one of the companies which is very close to Japanese system and processes. So which was a compliment, and they had joint venture with Hero Group. So Hero Group came into being with the first plant near Gurgaon in Dharuhera in 1984, and first bike was launched, and again it captured the imagination of Indian middle class with its style, with its color, with its technology, 4-stroke engine, and 100 kilometers to a liter. Wow! So nobody thought within 1 liter one can run up to, one can transport up to 100 kilometers. So that became soon Desh Ki Dhadkan. If you remember the ad, or you might go to YouTube for the students and just type Desh Ki Dhadkan, and you would suddenly find Hero Honda bikes popping up. So that's the story. And after that, rest is history. Within 10 to 12 years, the second plant in Gurgaon came up, the capacity expansion, and in
You have to unmute yourself.
So in 2001, we had the company acquired the position of number one manufacturer of the bikes in terms of quantity in the world. And you will be happy to know that it has been 19 years in a row till 2020. It's rather 20 years in a row. We have occupied the position, and we are there already. 2008, the third plant came in, and in 2011, Hero Group and Honda, they parted ways, and it is one of the most amicable settlements of the global corporate history, I would say. There was no animosity. Both had different aspirations. Hero MotoCorp wanted to go global, so that was not possible with the agreement with Honda. Honda wanted to come in motorcycles. They had already come in scooters with the plants in Manesar. So they wanted to come in motorcycles. Because of the arrangement, they were not able to come. So both parted ways, and that's how the journey of Hero MotoCorp started. So that was 1st of January 2011, they parted ways, and August 9, if I'm not wrong, to the same year, Hero MotoCorp logo, new logo, and the company was launched. Now again, it started from, as a company, it started from zero. So you can say that we are the 9-year-old company with the 30-year-old parent. So that is the status we are in. But after parting from Honda, many of the critics, automobile experts, they had counted us off, saying that Honda will soon take over, and Hero MotoCorp will be will go into the history of Indian automobile story, and it will not be seen anywhere. So it will lose out in competition. Now, 9 years again in a row, we are positioned at number one, and the credit goes to the 25,000 members, 25 to 30,000 members who have done really well in last 9 years to see that company grows like this. And one of the best decisions which has been taken by the group was opening up its R&D center, which was a necessity because erstwhile Honda was providing all the technology earlier. Now you had to be on your own. So in Jaipur in 2014, we had come up with our Center for Innovation and Technology, which is again it's a sprawling campus, one of the top 5 R&D of the world. And it is in 247 acres, and there are 1,600 people are working there, out of which almost 900 are engineers, and they are all from all parts of world with the top-notch global companies they have joined. So a lot of expats are also working. So we are creating the future of mobility here, which is our vision, and we want to create, collaborate, and inspire, which is our mission. So this is what we are doing at Center for Innovation and Technology, and with the kind of innovation which is going on in automobile industry, with evolving customer needs, it is going to be a differentiator in the automobile world. Now, again, coming back to this is about our company, and second is which I think Akhilesh has rightly mentioned, what happened during COVID. So COVID, again, I'm just in brief, I'm trying to explain. I still remember I had gone to attend a relative's marriage, and I was returning from Calcutta. And the moment I landed, I got a phone call of a departmental head saying that this was 1st of March. And so he's saying that there is an engineer coming to R&D center, Italian engineer on such and such date. Is there any COVID related guideline for us? Because he's coming from a COVID infected area. Maybe he's away from COVID infected area, but he's coming from Italy. Then till that time, we were not aware of the severity of the cause. But I said, let's play safe. Don't tell him to come. We will issue guideline within a day or two. And within a day or two, we issued guidelines. And then suddenly we found out how deadly it is, and immediately we cancelled all the foreign travels and everything. We called all our employees, because we have also an R&D center at Germany, Munich. So the people who were supposed to travel to Munich, we immediately called them and put them under quarantine. They were all expats and also Indians. A lot of people were traveling from Munich to our place. So we said, you hold on, and we canceled their travels. And immediately we were the first company across the globe to declare the office shutdown on 21st of March, before India declared lockdown. So on 21st of March, we declared a total shutdown of all the offices, including manufacturing plants, all across the globe. We are talking of Colombia, we have a plant. Bangladesh, we have a joint venture. Munich, we have R&D center. So we have closed all. And immediately, we had also communicated with the employees, the severity of it. Many employees wanted to go back, and they had gone back. So we started all kinds of initiatives. I'm not sure whether time permits to talk about the initiatives, but yes, we connected with all the employees during this COVID period. And again, on a daily basis, I personally had connected each one of them in R&D center, including my Germany employees, through our town halls. My team members, my HR team member, they connected each and everyone through phone every week. So calling all the 1,800 employees every week once and asking how are you and any support you need. And if they need any support, we had provided those supports during that lockdown, whether we had to arrange any gate for any passes or anything, any convenience people needed, any kind of medicines people needed, any kind of problems, health related issues, we have provided them. In order to build collective conscience, one more initiative we have taken. In these times, a lot of people go into kind of low morale and depression. So we had published every day one story of the day, kind of motivating story. So that really helped people to come up psychologically every day. So we received a lot of feedback around that. Every day people were waiting at a particular time to read that story, and then throughout the day, after working from home, just think about that story and having the morale up and learning from the story. So that also helped. So this is all, I mean, a lot of initiatives within that time, so I'll not go into details. Yes, we tried to see also that nobody should come into contact with COVID positive thing. We also connected with all the administration. We have provided them 40 bikes in Jaipur for serving the community. We also provided all kinds of masks, sanitizers, everything in Gurgaon, all the locations wherever the hero plants are there. We worked hand in hand with them. And then again, we restarted from May first week onwards, and 8th of June onwards, we are fully geared up. Almost 80% of the workforce is here. One of the good things, two things I would like to mention. One is the engagement of our CMD, Mr. Pawan Munjal. He conducted 10 town halls himself. That was actually, I have never seen in any company. I have worked, this is my 8th company where I'm working. So CMD himself conducted 10 town halls, 530 across the globe, 100% employed to attend that. And he engaged everybody, he asked everybody, he had kind of organized a family day on digital platform, invited few celebrities to perform, invited employees to perform digitally. So those were the things also were very heartwarming to see. And also none of the workers, none of the even contractuals, nobody, not a single penny was deducted during the lockdown period and starting. So nobody has lost job, nobody's salary was deducted, everybody was engaged meaningfully, and whatsoever was possible work from home, everybody had done. So these are the differentiators which helped us in ramping up our production. So because all of our manpower were in and around 20 to 30% had gone outside. So they came back because they had money in their pocket. We had paid salaries. So they came back, and now we have ramped up. You might have heard the Prime Minister's address few days back, where he has said that in two-wheelers, industries have risen to the 70% capacity. He is absolutely right. This month, we are going to have 70% of the monthly production, which we used to do normally. So that is going to happen in this month, first month only. So this is all we have done. I think we have a lot of things to discuss. So I would pass it on to, I believe, Akhilesh or our esteemed co-panelist. So
thank you, sir, for a nice brief of Hero Group, how they have grown. And if I'm not wrong, in fact, I now remember, I think there was a B school, I think it was London Business School or some other business school who had a case study on Hero MotoCorp or Hero Honda regarding the entrepreneurship skills, the way they have developed this organization and the way they settled the Honda separation. Right?
Yes.
Nice story.
Yeah, please.
And it's really nice that 70% of the production is back by this month. So the wheels are on track now. And organization has taken very nicely, regularly connecting with the employees, with making 10 town halls and various other things. So it's really nice and great that this gives confidence to the audience, students and faculties that the things are going to be on a track very soon. Sir, I like to say a few things, discuss few things with you about the recent stimulus package which government has offered. I'll just brief few things, and with your wisdom and your experience, I'm sure we'll get some input that how it is going to help the industry. Just there's a liquidity is very, very important for industry. What I believe, there are three important factors. The first is labor viscosity, the second is political factors, and the third one is liquidity, the credit availability. The government has given various stimulus packages, which includes 30,000 crore for special liquidity fund for NBFCs and mutual funds, 45,000 crore partial guarantee, credit guarantee to NBFCs. For discounts, 90,000 crore, collateral free loan for MSME, 3 lakh crore, subordinate debt provision, rupees 20,000 crore for 2 lakh stressed MSME. And what we believe is that MSME will again later on contribute to the large industries like yours. They have also taken some reforms, like changing the definition of MSME, right? Without losing the MSME advantages, they can expand. In addition, there was a new definition of micro units, that the turnover from 5 crores to 10 crores and 100 crores will be called as micro units. But ultimately, the SMEs will help to as ancillary units to large industries. So, I like to just have your feedback. These packages are really going to have some impact on the industry for their growth.
See, if you are asking me, You are asking me,
Yeah.
Akhilesh?
Yes, sir. Ratan, sir.
Yeah. See, government,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
government has provided certain stimulus, and you will have to wait to see how it turns out to be.
Okay.
Before that happens, one has to stand on their own.
Correct.
MSME is definitely large employers, and definitely the environment. See, one is creating an environment. Government is successful in creating an environment where things are looking upbeat, barring this last 1 or 2 days, whatever has happened on the borders, sideline of borders. Government has been successful to, create sentiments around the market, and that is being reflected by the consumer behavior also in the automobile sector. Also, we are seeing that sales are going up. Now, in terms of a stimulus package, now normally what happens in auto industry, the normally OEMs normally when they ramp up, they also help in ramping up the supply chain partners and the dealers. So it is with the help of OEMs, these supply chain partners. One is capabilities and skills. So how we have ramped up, we try to ramp it up and help our supply chain partners. Okay, so that they also get their labor back, they also get their everything. We help in their recruitment, we help in their ramping up manpower and everything. Then second is about the liquidity. Now liquidity analysis is being done based on the financial situation of all the supply chain partners and the dealers. Now it could be moderate, it could be risky, or it could be stable. So there could be three categories. Again, OEMs go in and support who are in high risk. Somehow they support for with a short-term loan or something like to be adjusted in the business in the future. So this is the way the entire ecosystem operates. Government fiscal whatever packages they are giving, whether those MSMEs are utilizing those packages and they are getting help from that, it is yet to be seen. So 6 months down the line, if you ask me, then picture will be clearer.
Right.
At this particular time, everybody has to stand on their own and help each other, rather than large companies are going to help these smaller companies, because they are interconnected. So they are dependent on each other. So that ecosystem will work. Now, once all are stable, in order to have a growth period and take off, definitely how stimulus and all everything is working, we'll see that.
Right. And so last, the social distancing norm, which is enacted by government recently, the people will not like to move in buses or public transportation. Probably people will have individual vehicles to save themselves. So
Yes, yeah, please.
yeah, we can look into it that this is going to give a little better start to two-wheelers or four-wheelers.
Yes, that's a very important point which you have brought in, and thanks for bringing that, because till now we were thinking that shared mobility will take over. So car industry were really anxious about it. So do the motorcycle industry to some extent. But now it appears that the rule of the game is going to change, and people will be less dependent on shared mobility, at least for next 1 to 2 years, unless and until some vaccine and medicine come in the market. Till that time, yes, everybody is going to be dependent on the personal mobility, and due to the personal mobility, and personal mobility also at the entry level actually. If you look at the entry level two-wheelers and the four-wheelers, you may see recovery very fast. There could be V-shaped recovery in those segments.
Right.
So that is possible, not in the luxury. So yes, there is a preference over share mobility. People want to have personal automobile.
Thank you, sir. So with this, will we move to our next expert panelist? I think Dagar sir and Arun sir both have tractors in commerce. Tractors is a common product for both the industries, Escorts and Mahindra Swaraj. So now I'll request Arun Raghav sir to be with us and share his experience about the future of tractor industry, large equipment, construction equipment. Arun sir.
Uh, Thank you, Akhilesh, and thank you for organizing this talk. And once again, welcome all the participants, my co-panelists, and good evening, everyone. So I think Ratanji has knit the fabric very well, and I'll add to some of the data points which will help you to understand the overall auto industry and India's role in the overall world's economy in terms of the auto industry. So we are the fifth largest auto market if we compare or look at the 2019 data. And we have the OEM base as far as domestic or international brands are concerned. And so we are not doing, or not exporting much, but there's a manufacturing base of all the domestic and the international OEMs, so which is a very, very good news for us. And we have a strong demand with respect to the domestic or even its exports. So, I mean, if you see the overall demand in terms of, automobile, we sell around 4.18 million units in 2019, so which is a huge, huge number. And if you see the export, we are, the market is growing year on year, and the CAGR is around 7%. If we compare FY16 to FY20 data. I mean, like, the situation is not that gloomy. We are very good. However, with the COVID impact, if I see certain studies which have been done with respect to automobile, there is a clearly declining trend which shows, I mean, the data is showing as of now. So car market, it says around 24 to 26%, wherein two-wheeler market, it says around 21 to 23%, and commercial vehicles, 26 to 28%. How far it will materialize, but these are all studies, this is all hypothesis. Maybe going over a period of time, these data might change because, as we have just talked about it, that because of the psychology right now, people don't want to, co-passengers, people want to travel alone, and there is a surge in the, small segment cars. If I see, Maruti data, they say that they have sold about 30,000 units and all that. So there is a surge. Now, if I look at the policy support with respect to, manufacturing or the government, how the government is supporting this. So Indian government has a clear vision that we want to be a, auto manufacturing hub very clearly. And initiatives like Make in India and Automotive Mission Plan 2026, those are very clearly laid out. And I think government has also given the approval for the faster adoption of manufacturing of electric hybrid vehicles, and a lot of money is being, pumped in next 2 to 3 years in this. So there is a complete policy support, if I have to see from the auto market point of view. Now I'll move to, the tractor market, and thankfully, after this COVID situation, I think the tractor market or the agriculture implement market is the only market which has, bounced back very quickly, and there is a huge surge in the demand in the market. It is because of the government policies also, because of the crop also, because when I look at tractors or, agri implements, there's a clear, 3-4 dimensions, which has a huge impact. So very clearly it is long period average of the monsoon, and of course the low penetration and increased government support. And of course, because everybody wants now to increase the mechanization in the farm. So these are a couple of things which support the, the tractor industry. And, if I have to talk in terms of data, so year on year, if we see a CAGR, it is around 7% CAGR, 6.85 to be precise. If you see a horizon, of 95 to 2019, the industry is growing year on year. So which is a a great boost and a great increase in the numbers. If I look at the numbers from financial year 1995, wherein we used to sell about 1,79,000 tractors, now the market is selling about 7,70,000 tractors in FY20. So it's a huge, increase in the numbers. Mahindra being a leader in the tractor industry, we are at number one, and Swaraj is followed by Mahindra, and we are at number two. And Swaraj is very clearly a tractor which is made by the farmers for the farmers. That is our tagline. So the tractor was how the naming has happened of Swaraj was because Swaraj is a completely indigenous tractor. Everything from technology to spares to manufacturing to everything, we were indigenous, and that's how it is named as Swaraj. So that was the genesis, because that point in time in 1970s, the country was looking for a tractor which can be developed indigenously, and that's how the product has come up. And we proudly say that all engineers, all shop floor, they are from the farming background, and we promote that and we love that because the farmers understand the need of the the equipment than anyone else. So if I have to talk about more in terms of industry, as I've told you, the tractor industry is looking up very well, and we are overwhelmed after lockdown opened. See, we started the factories around first week of May, and now we are running more than 100% capacity. All our factories are running more than 100% capacity, and the demand is huge. I mean, like, it's lopsided. We are not able to supply the kind of demand which is there in the market. So now, if I have to come to the COVID situation, I think none of us have ever seen this kind of a calamity, from the government agencies to the industries. No one has done a risk assessment of this kind of a lockdown in the complete world. Nobody have thought that the world will come to an halt and everybody will be locked down in the houses. So around 7th of March, when this murmur has started, we immediately picked up this thread and we have started work from home. And we started educating our people. We have started various measures. So I'll take it like this: that pre-lockdown situation, lockdown situation, and opening up. So I'll divide my the next thoughts in these three broad segments. So if I have to talk about pre-lockdown situation, we have immediately started the work from home. We have started taking various measures to ensure that how we can prevent and how we can give a sense of security to our employees, that they come freely and work freely in the factory. So we have taken various measures. We have put dividers in the canteen. We have stopped the uncooked food which was served in the canteen, like salad, curd, etc., and started the sanitizers on canteen, temperature monitoring, etc. in while they are boarding in the bus and while they are getting down in the bus and getting into the factory. And this was for everyone, whosoever was entering the premises. We have stopped the visitor entries, etc. And in the pre-lockdown, we have sensed that it is going to go larger and larger because the rest of the world was grappling with it. So we have prepared ourselves that how, if the lockdown happens, then how we can manage the factory situation. We have made arrangements within the factory that the security will be able to put it within the factory. So we put the bedding, granular planning was done so that there is no lapses and we should not be get a shock that how should we go now. So earlier it was a Janta curfew, and then immediately it was converted into a curfew in Punjab. So we took permission from the authorities that how we can salvage the material, because there was a lot of material which was in work in progress, and how to ensure that we don't waste our material. So those arrangements were done. There was some material which was in transit which was coming from the vendor end, and our material also which was there in transit. So we ensured that both the ends are met, and our material also reaches to a destination where it is safe, and the material which was coming, we could able to receive it. So those kind of arrangements were done. So and also now I moved to lockdown situation, wherein we have a lot of time to plan. Number one, also to support the community at large, that what we can do in this kind of a situation. So immediately we bounced back, and to the call of duty, we started making face shield in the factory. And we made around, I can proudly say that overall at Mahindra level, we made about, some 2.5, 3 lakh face shields, and which were distributed for the Corona warriors across the, country. Mahindra at large had also worked on various initiatives like ventilator and all that, but at Swaraj, we made face shield and face mask for the, people. We distributed to Haryana government, Himachal and Punjab, and roughly around 55,000 face shield we made in the factory with our own people. And it's really proud, and our face shield was one of the best face shield, which, National Mission Director has, complimented us that you being a tractor industry, making a face shield, and that to a, a very good quality. So it was a really proud moment. We ensured the community at large. We provided the sanitization sprinklers in the Mohali district, and those were given to the municipal commissioner here to ensure that the sanitization work is done across the Mohali district. And we've given PPE kits, face masks, etc., to ensure that people who are fighting, doctors, police, whosoever is working on the front line, should be able to get best of the equipment, and swiftly they should not be grapple for need of these things. We also worked on our people with respect to thanks to the technology which came very handy, M-Team, Zoom, Google. And with this, we could able to, utilize the time and energy of our people, appropriately. We were communicating to people because we knew that it is going to open. So it becomes really handy for us that we were preparing mentally, employees. At the same time, we were preparing our plants that, when the people will come to the plant, how we will receive them, how the social distancing will be maintained, what other precautions we have to take to ensure that, people are psychologically, mentally, they are fit and they understand. Their family should be able to send them to the plant, without blinking their eyes that, okay, the company has taken adequate measures. So those things we have worked during the lockdown. We have created the health helplines. There were numerous health talks we have conducted through various, doctors. We have a tie-up with Fortis, Max here, and who were taking, the teams and talking on various aspects, psychological, or how they can prevent, they can take preventive measures, and they can be healthy. And there were some difficulties also to people. Somebody has to reach, home because their family had some kind of mishappening, etc. So helping these people, reaching their home safely, providing them the transit passes, multi-state transit passes, and so on and so forth. So maybe because we have a large workforce here, and maybe during this period, maybe we have taken some 500, 600 passes for the outer state, because people were stranded here and they want to go back to their families and so on. So we made arrangements for them, they can travel, how safely, they can reach their home. And then opening up. I hope I have some time, Akhilesh. We're not running out of time. Can I take 2-3 minutes more?
2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
2-3
So
minutes.
for opening up, we have
2-3
created
minutes.
Yeah. So for
2-3
opening up, we
minutes
have,
you can take, sir.
yeah. Can you hear me? So for opening up, we have created a detailed manual,
Yes.
how we can, how we're going to operate. And that manual was very exhaustive with the checklist. And we are still working on that manual, and every single day, each of the factory, each of our, offices, they send a detailed checklist filled every day, how many people are coming there, and what kind of measures which were supposed to be taken, have they taken or not. So those checklists are coming back to us, and rigorous protocol is being followed to ensure that people health, people safety, and all aspects have been taken care, which are laid out by the government, and rather more over and above measures have been taken or not. And I'm very happy to tell you that we could able to ramp up the production 50% production in a week's time, and then we have reached in 2 weeks about 70-80%. And now since 1st of June, it's about 100% production we are doing. So thank you, and I'll be happy to take if there are any questions.
Sure, sir. We will be taking questions after the address of Dagar, sir. Thanks for a brief, sir. That was really nice to understand the numbers are on track again at Swaraj. And you very nicely not only taken care for the numbers and business, but also for the employees, as well as a lot of social contribution is there from Mahindra Swaraj. That's really great, sir. Thank you. The only thing, the common thing along with the Dagar sir and you is tractors, the agriculture field, which is important for you. The government has offered a lot of agriculture packages, and many reforms were there for farmers. I am sure those reforms are going to contribute to the industry. Right? Like 30,000 crore capital emergency fund to NABARD for Rabi and Kharif fasals. Prime Minister Kisan Credit for 2 lakh crore concessional credit to boost farming activities. Ultimately, I think these are going to contribute to your industry. 10,000 crore for micro fund scheme. Now we have to only wait and watch and see that how the things are going to be implemented. What Ratan sir has very nicely said that well, we can definitely have a hope with better implementation and better results. 2 lakh crore fund for food enterprises and lot of agriculture marketing reforms by way of removing the barriers, free interstate trade for farmers, the adequate choices to sell produce at attractive prices, framework of e-trading platform for agriculture products. I am sure when the revenue is going to be better, the farmers are going to spend more at their farmers, their activities and their machineries, which I am sure both belongs to your and Dagar sir's industry. Am I right, sir? So with this, I'll request and welcome B.S. Dagar sir to address about the organization and the growth in the automobile, heavy machinery equipment segment and construction equipment, railway sector, or in which the escorts is really. Dagar sir.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Akhilesh, to giving me an opportunity. I think as far as agriculture is concerned, my friend Arun has already covered everything. So in 1960, our late founder, H.P. Nandaji, having a vision of doing the ease of farmers, so he started tractor industry around 60 years back in the name of escorts. Later on, he decided to have a JV with Ford. So we were the first to have a JV in Ford as well as JCB also and Yamaha also. So Yamaha, JCB, Ford and escorts, we were having 4 verticals. Even hospitals also, escorts was part of Escorts Health Institute and one hospital in Faridabad was also. They were part of escorts. There were a lot of ups and downs in escorts. So as far as last 15 years are concerned, we are growing on a very high speed. Our 2 brands, especially FarmTrack and PowerTrack. FarmTrack is very popular in North India and PowerTrack is going like anything in South. It's a cost economy tractor, PowerTrack, plus fuel economy also. We are in apart from agriculture, we are in railway also. We are the major supplier of couplers, brakes, suspensions for railway also. In construction equipment, we are supplying road rollers, compactors, heavy duty cranes, pick and carry cranes. These are our major 4 products in construction equipment. In 2019, we have 2 JVs, one with the world best company of tractor, Kubota. We will produce 50,000 tractors per annum in Faridabad. The plant will be operational in a couple of months' time. It was supposed to be operational in April, but due to COVID, so it got delayed by 2 to 3 months now. So the plan is to start in July. That will having a capacity of 50,000 tractors for Kubota. We produce from escorts. Second JV which we have is with Tadano, world best crane company. with the help of Tadano and Escorts, we will produce heavy duty cranes in Faridabad itself. That will also be a big plant in Faridabad itself. It will also be functional in I think 5 to 6 months time. So as far as tractor business is concerned, as told by Arunji, it's going like anything. Only agriculture equipment business is on high peak now. After COVID, it has bounced back very high. This is because because of the farmer is having Rabi crops, money in his hand now. Although the government has also supported farmers because there is an initiative from government of doubling the income of farmers. Second, because entire Rabi crops is purchased by government and the money is also released in the account of farmers quickly. So because of that, farmer is having capacity of purchasing tractors now. So tractor, when we restarted after COVID-19 on 5th of May. From first day itself, our almost 90% employees rejoined duty because maximum employees are in and around from Faridabad. We have provided pick and drop facility to all with social distancing. Earlier, we were flying, let us say 50 buses. So we have doubled the bus and cabs also. In-house also, we are maintaining social distancing. Canteen timings are also staggered. So right now, our 100% employees are working with full safe and secure environment inside Escorts. We are almost working on 110% capacity because as told by Arun, the demand of tractor is very high. Whatever the tractor producer will produce, the customer will buy. So this is the scenario. And I think this will continue till October. This year, this agriculture equipment growth is assumed that it will be around 12 to 15%. Next year also, because this year the monsoon time is on time, farmers are having certain this cash crops also in their hand. So next year also, it's assumed that the agriculture product will also be grow at the rate of 12 to 15%. So last year, we were the first company to produce electric tractor as well as driverless tractor also. We have launched driverless tractor also. We are planning, although we have launched one agriculture utility vehicle also, but that is in pipeline. In couple of years, we'll launch that also in market. So it's journey of Escorts. We have around 15,000 employees in and around Faridabad. Our all major plants are in Faridabad. So this is the journey of Escorts.
Excellent. And Davar sir, especially in your case, because agriculture, most of the things were common with you and Arun sir.
Yeah.
There was one more point which I was able to identify. I thought, let me share it with you and find out your opinion on this. See, one more, because Escorts is engaging in construction equipment as well as large machineries. So yeah. there was a stimulus which was given by government, affordable housing rental accommodation for construction equipment companies. That organization industries, those who want to make housing for migrant workers. Yeah. There are laws and government is going to give subsidy for that. So the construction equipment, ultimately when the construction work moves, construction equipment industry will definitely grow. So there was one where affordable housing and rental accommodation, government is going to plan for it for migrant workers. So I'm sure we will contribute because 70,000 crores of pump in this industry.
As told by you earlier, about all plants are situated in and around Faridabad. It's in between even city also. So plant is having 50 to 100 acre land inside the city. Our all employees, they are regular, majority of employees are regular employees and they are residing nearby Faridabad. So providing them accommodation, I don't think that those plants who are in interior, I think that policy will work for them only.
Ultimately,
so it's a good initiative.
Some advantage of that, whether it is.
Sorry? Your voice is not audible. Am I audible? I think your voice is not audible, Mr. Akhilesh.
I think he is disconnected. I think he is dropped from the call.
I think there was some technical issue.
Yeah,
Am I
now,
audible?
yeah, it's audible.
Yeah, it's audible now.
Now, what we'll do, we'll have some questions and then we'll move on to the second session. Bhanuji, can I see questions? We'll take, if there is a relevant question, 1 or 2 questions, because time will not permit us for more. Sir, I am in search of internship for 1 month. We will be taking separately with us, because I don't think that this question, surge in demand of tractor and two-wheeler is quite increasing. Any other questions? For internship, you can talk to your training and placement, the relevant college. The student can connect with their TNP department. Probably they will definitely help for internship program, because it is the college who provides the internship. In our system also, we are responsible for the internship with industry for our students. So what I'll suggest, you can connect with your training and placement. They can connect with the industry experts for internship. There is another question, graduate who are from chemistry or nutrition background, but with MBA in HRM and digital marketing. Will an automobile company hire such a candidate? Arun sir, I think you can take care for this question. Arun,
So, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, I think the more relevancy for a chemistry or a nutrition background graduate will be with FMCG or pharma companies, not the automobile.
Difficulties you guys have faced in your automobile industry. I think these things are already briefed by you, and all the 3 organizations, they are leading in their things. They are innovative also. I think time to time you people are taking necessary steps to face all the hurdles in your industry. Am I right, sir? The next question is,
I have my view also on this. The question which the lady has asked: if one is MBA in HR, he or she can apply to any industry. So whether she is a BCom, BTech, BSc nutrition, it doesn't matter. So if one is MBA HR, so he or she can apply to any industry.
I missed this right, MBA HR thing.
Whether it is BA, BSc.
Yeah.
Whether it is
you're
any
right,
stream,
you're right, Agaji.
Yes, Arun sir. Please, Arun sir.
No, I was saying that I missed this MBA HR part. So MBA HR can apply in any industry. I was saying that, yeah.
Later, the industry depends on the industry, how they prefer and what is the availability of the other candidate. Is there any employment opportunity in automobile industry with the current situation for freshers? Arun sir?
I would say that, currently, all the industries, including us, we are going slow on recruitment. Why? Because there is a process around the entire a fresher recruitment. You have to induct people and you have to call them for joining, etc. So we are all going slow on it as of now. But I think the way things are looking up, the way the economy has bouncing back, and we are standing on our feet very quickly. It seems that maybe after July, August, if the situation don't get worse, I think the market is going to open up for the jobs, for the freshers even.
Right. Right. I'll request Ratan sir, how would job roles be shaped for freshers passing out with MBA in HR?
An MBA in HR with a specific reference to MBA in HR.
No, he has not mentioned anything. How would job roles be shaped for freshers passing out with MBA in HR?
See, please understand how the future of business is going to change. Then your answer will be within that. Now, this is a very defining decade, 2020. And we are going into this decade is 2020 to 2030. Now, in this decade, again, it is a revolution, technology revolution is expected. Now, the way you live, the way you talk, the way you invest, the way you educate, the way you learn, everything is going to change. The way you drive, the way you transport, the way you do agriculture, everything is going to change. What is going to happen? There will be disruption, technology disruptions in daily livings. You would have a lot of penetration of artificial intelligence. You would have a lot of, disruptive technology intervention in all spheres. Your mobility, I mean, earlier the car companies were having competitors amongst each other. Now car companies, suddenly they are finding competitions in the technology company. Now Google is becoming competitor to Audi. Can you just imagine how it is going to happen? Now Google has produced an autonomous car, driverless car, which is going to reshape the automobile business in the future. So a lot of technology. Now earlier it was a car on wheels, machine on wheels. Now it is computer on wheels. So everything is going to be digitalized. Everything is going to be connected. The whole world mobile sets, approximately 3 to 4 billion, are going to be connected with each other. Now in such a scenario, the kind of education, the kind of reskilling is required. It is more towards machine learning, artificial intelligence, digital savviness. That is very important. Just note these words. Digital savviness is very important. Even if you are in HR, you have to interact. Now, who would have imagined before COVID that we are going to digitalize, we are going to interact with our employees in a digitalized manner. We are going to connect with our employees. Now it is so easy. And this is going to be future. Robotics, artificial learning, deep learning, machine learning. So this is going to take over. And with the 5G technology coming in, where India is also investing, and maybe next 2-3 years, India will be in 5G. The Internet of Things, internet speed will be very high. So all the mobility, including tractors, I am telling you, is going to be connected vehicle, autonomous vehicle. So you have to be very technology savvy, and unless you are not, then you may be out of place at the workplace. So that's that one thing you need to keep in mind, and learning agility has to be very, very fast.
Last question in this session for Dagar sir. Does electric vehicle possible in construction industry? I think you can expose light because you have construction equipments.
In agriculture, yes. In it, I think by 2022, we will fully launch electric tractor, as we have launched 2 tractors in market. They are under testing phase. Within 2 years, we'll launch electric tractor. In fact, driverless also in pipeline, driverless tractors. So ultimately, the consumer, the farmer, he has to just sit on chair and just he has to feed. So everything, the tractor will do everything. And in 19, we have started one new business also, taxi business, Uberization of tractor. So this is also a new initiative of Escorts. everyone can book the tractor by Google, and within 40 minutes tractor will reach at his farming. That is the initiative, and that is growing in, especially in middle of the country, middle and southeast of the country. So in north, that will also be popular in couple of months time.
Right. Dagar sir, one more thing with you. In fact, today Prime Minister is inaugurating, and I think there was a news that government is going to have auction for 500 coal mining industry. They will be auctioning for private sector. Is it going to help the products which we are manufacturing?
Yes, for construction equipment, yeah, that will give more benefit. The demand will increase. After I think 2 months. Sorry?
Prime Minister is not.
Your voice is, I think, not audible. Hello?
Sir, in fact, there was an announcement from government recently that government will auction 500 coal mines.
Sorry, government will auction? Hello?
Coal mines.
Mines?
But this is going to other industries also.
No, we are not going to mines business actually. We are an equipment business. We'll supply equipments to mines owners.
Yeah. Say something.
Akhilesh, your signal seems to be low. Your signal is very, very low.
Okay.
And we are not able to hear you.
Am I audible?
Your voice is not clear at all.
It is
Voice is
cracking, yeah.
Cracking.
Am I audible? Okay. Just give me a few moments. Now it is audible.
Little
Slightly
bit.
better.
Now it's audible, sir.
Slightly better, Akhilesh.
I want to say that the mining industry will go, and it is going to be co-auction industry with different organizations. They will move for having equipments, heavy equipments for mining.
Your
So the
question is
industry
not
can have
clear.
a
Question.
gain from.
Can you relog in please again? I think there is some distraction in.
Or you can write in the box.
Right? We can say Coal India is having an exclusive monopoly for mining coal. They are going to auction 500 coal mines. So other industrialists will also move in segment. The moment more industrialists will move in this segment of mining, probably the heavy industry, machinery, equipment segment will grow. This is what I want to say.
Yeah, it will grow. Sure, it will grow. It will grow because of highways also construction. There is one new highway, Mumbai-Delhi highway, Delhi-Katra highway. These are fully operational. The demand has gone like anything in construction business also.
So this is really great that from leading industries, we have nice words about the future growth and expectation for the country. And no, the has helped a lot. Remember, for the affiliate shut, forget it, right? So all the three industries have their own respect and image in the contribution to the country, including Swaraj. So with this, we'll be moving to the next session. And in this, what I'll be requesting Ratan sir and then Dagar sir, sir, what you expect from a BE school? You must have visited a number of BE schools, whether it is technology or it is business management, IITs, IIMs, or a number of other BE schools, engineering colleges. What you really expect from a BE school? How can we contribute to industry for a mutual development so that they become helping hands to each other? Because there is a lot of change. Ratan sir has very rightly described about the new technology, the IoT, Internet of Things, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning. These are one of the most important things which we are also taking care. and started at our place. But we'd like to have few statements from you that how we can really more contribute to you and what you really expect from students when they move at your place after graduation or post-graduation. So what you really expect from them? Well, training is always there, but something if you can guide and help to our students, audience, this will be very nice. So I'll request Ratan sir to address on this issue.
Okay, so one thing which I have already told that you should be, one is while you are eyeing at the present studies, also look at the creating differentiator in your education and personality. Now, the differentiator can only happen with a lot of acquiring knowledge and skill is one of the ways where you look at the future, study for next 10 years, 20 years, how the economy is going to grow, and what will be the opportunities you have in terms of contributing to the economy through the industry. So you will definitely find out the, like I said, digital savviness, very important at the moment. Pick up one particular specialized area. Suppose you are in HR and you say that, okay, the digital savviness, I would like to create some, I would like to explain. So work on your imagination. One is benchmarking. Benchmarking, now world is going beyond benchmarking. Benchmarking is what? Whosoever is at the top, you go and study the best practices and you come and implement. Now what I am saying is, forget about benchmarking. Suppose you are in Takshila. You may like to go to IIM and see what they are doing and they would like to implement. I am saying just forget IIM. You just concentrate on what better you can do in order to serve others. So what is the best in according to your imagination? Connect with the global audience, connect with the people, connect with the industry expertise globally. Don't only concentrate on few segments and all that, because connectivity is very easy nowadays. And try to create differentiator for yourself. Being in your course in 2 years or whatever it is, even if one project you do, which is a differentiator, it will add to your biodata. It will add to your resume. It will be like a differentiator when you go and present your candidature. So that is very important. So you'll have to be very smart in knowing your capabilities and adding on to your capabilities. So that is very important. So digital savviness is very important. And at the same time, you should be very good at creating networking. Professional network develop as much as possible. Nowadays, there is an age of social media. So go into constructive social media, build your profile there. Then only you will be visible. How can you do that? Rather than posting your photographs on a highway, on a motorcycle with a style, rather than post something which attracts attention of knowledgeable people. Write some article on certain things. Post it everywhere, wherever you have account. The article could be on leadership, article can be on anything which is of value to others. So similarly, you build up your profile. You are in, suppose you have 2 years in MBA, you will have a lot of opportunities.
Yes,
apart from what you study, you have a lot of opportunities to create your profile, and profile has to be differentiated from others.
I'll also add value in Mr. Ratan's statement. So in the business school especially, they have to have regular interactions with industry. They have to understand the requirement of industry, requirement of customers also. Like one suggestion I can give to the students also, first and second SEM, they can continue in college, but complete third SEM. It can be a 6 month. That should be associated with industry only. So rather than going 2 month internship, it should be 6 months. Because during 6 months, they can prove also. 2 months is an induction, at least induction period for them. Second, because customers' demand is increasing day by day. They want everything. It's a computer savvy word. They want everything on a stable. So the student has to understand that also.
Right. Arun sir, your comments.
So 2-3 things on, I'm just topping up the list. So acumen to handle the data, that is the most important thing going forward, which I think the B schools need to make learn the boys or the girls or the students. I think that is the most important thing nowadays, because it will help the way we are, going along with the technology. It will come very handy, and they can decipher the information very quickly. So though it looks very simple to learn the basics of Excel or advanced Excel, but it is very very handy. I'm going to the tool. I should not have gone, but I'm just telling you that that's the most important thing when the someone comes to the industry, especially in the functions like support functions. I think it is time of specialization, that along with the generalist profile, you have to have a some specialization which will help you to uh, be relevant all along in the industry for your life. So do specialize in one of the things which will help you to. I'm talking, when I'm saying specialization, it is not basically HR, finance, or the broader specializations, but I'm talking the subsystems or the sub processes within those functions. It will help you to have some niche skill which you can carry all along. Networking is also one of the important things, because nowadays these schools are having a lot of interactions amongst between the academia and the industry. So built on it, have a good networking ability, understand the importance of networking, and have a relevant conversation with the stakeholders. I think that is the most important thing which people have to learn. So in industry, when we work, we talk education, exposure, and experience. These are the three things we talk. And we say that education should be about 10%, exposure should be about 70%, 20%. When I'm saying exposure, these are all new projects. So, and experience, obviously with your experience, you learn various things, and you built on, your career, built on your aspirations, built on, and give back to the industry, and so on and so forth. So I think this is a very, very relevant principle, wherein when the students are in colleges, it is other way around, more on education with exposure and with experience. So give them case studies. I think more relevant. They should work on the case studies, work in the groups. I think in the process they build, they learn better communication, better presentation skills. In our country, we lack on presentation skills very heavily. So these are some of the basic things, as a student, I feel that, because I've gone to many campuses, and, across the, campuses, we find these things are, not being given the adequate, I would say, importance which should have been given. So these are from my side, just to top up what Ratanji and Dagar sir have said.
Thank you, sir. In fact, what Ratan sir and you have said, Dagar sir, very rightly, the latest new technology, the digital savviness, the advanced Excel. I think these are the things that we, in fact, Dakshina Business School has already incorporated a technology module as well as digital savviness and the advanced Excel. Because of this, we were fortunate to place our 100% students in the month of March itself. Hindustan, we were fortunate to have Hindustan Lever at our campus in Rajasthan. They came first time in Rajasthan. The S&P Global picked more than 22 students from our campus and a lot of other organizations. I think that contributes to the course content, the skills which we have developed, and what rightly you have said. So we definitely cope up with the things what you have addressed to us, and we expect the students, they must have gained a lot. The most important is building up their confidence that how the leading industry people are confident about their objectives with their organizations to achieve, and how they are again returning back on the track after COVID and pandemic very fast. In this month, they have a record sales, whether it is two-wheeler, tractors, or other things, and growth plans are there. So I'm sure the audience must have gained a lot. And to Ratan sir, Dagar sir, Arun sir, a lot of thanks that we are here. With thanks to PNGI, that with them we were able to have this webinar. And we'll see that how individually I'll be able to meet you at your place later. right, sir? So thanks a lot for this.
Akhilesh.
Because we'll
And
not
one
be-
message to student also, which I want to give is
Yes, sir.
they should not be worried.
Yes, sir. Please.
The industry will grow like anything. Within couple of months, even automobile industry, every industry will bounce back with a very high growth. The future is very secure. They are in secure hand. Don't worry, because I have heard in a lot of education institutions that the campus interview will not take place for this year pass out student. That will not happen. Industry will surely visit campus institutes and they'll hire, because industry will grow. Lot of companies, they are planning to start their business in India. Recently, Haryana government has offered 250 acre of land to two big companies. They will start their manufacturing, one in Sona and one is nearby Palwal. So opportunities are there. Lot of companies, they are having a good association with Haryana government. Within, I think, this year itself, they'll have association with government and they'll start their business. They are just waiting for green signal from government to give them the land only.
So Ratan,
Yeah,
sir,
very
Ratan sir,
Yeah.
anything else from your side, sir?
No, I fully echo what Mr. Dagar is saying, and Arun also mentioned. I just want to add a word of caution. Yes, growth path from what we were in COVID situation, we will definitely bounce back. And but financial year 21, if you look at the automobile industry, we are selling around 26 to 27 million of vehicles, including everything, tractors, dominated by two-wheelers, around 20 million two-wheelers, 8 millions we are selling, and rest all together we are selling. Now this 26 million this year may or may not happen, but yes, what we were in the COVID situation, we will bounce back from there and bounce back very strong. Government is also trying. They will also investing a lot in infrastructure. So a lot of job opportunities will be created. But what was the projection pre-COVID? Definitely there could be 10 to 15% lesser than that. But sentiments will be positive, I believe. Once we bounce back, number one. Number two, once we have medicines in the market, vaccines in the market, certainly you will find a lot of economic activity happening in the country and across the world. India will be center of attraction, no doubt about it.
Very rightly said, Ratan sir, that presently we don't have any medicine and presently we don't have a vaccine. In spite of that, we are trying to be on track. The moment we have vaccine and medicine, the things will change tremendously. Right, sir. Arun sir, any last words from your side?
I would only say that please adhere to the COVID guidelines, stay safe, stay healthy. If we're gonna survive, I think we're gonna work also.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Ratanji, Dagar Saab.
Thank you, Arun.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you, Dagar.
Thank you. Thank you, Akhilesh.
Thank you, Akhilesh.